everyone, welcome to Onyx Pages. I'm Njeri. For those of you who have been a part of this channel for a while, welcome back. I should be saying welcome back to myself because I feel like it's been a while since I've filmed a video. And to those of you who are new to the channel, thank you very much for subscribing, and I hope that you enjoy your time here. So this is my February 2018 wrap up, which is a bit of a joke because it's almost the end of March. So I guess I will start my wrap up by saying that February was extremely busy. I made a bit of a last minute decision to travel to Amsterdam to participate in the Other Futures conference, and it was amazing. I got to meet Nnedi Okorafor, Walida Imarisha, Nisi Shaw. I got to hug Nalo Hopkinson, who is my favorite author, who I love hugging. And I just met like a lot of really amazing people, Jackie and Jerry. And I also, if you've never seen the movie Poomsy, you really should see the short film. I had the opportunity to meet the filmmaker as well. And it was just like, it was just wonderful. It was a really great time. I got to spend some time also with a very good friend of mine who lives in Amsterdam and her partner, so it was really lovely. But what it meant was I spent about a week away from the city and away from work and away from filming, and that kind of shook up a lot of different things, including my reading plans. So I actually was only able to get through 2 novels and a novella in February, but I want to tell you a little bit about them. And I think I have something else I want to share with you, but I'll do that at the end. All right. So I participated in Read So Lit with Dee Dee over at Brown Girl Reading, and we read Tar Baby. I read this, I loved it. Tar Baby is written by Toni Morrison. I confess that I haven't read a lot of Toni Morrison's work, and as you can hopefully infer from all of the little tabs here, I really enjoyed it. So in this book, we follow the main character, Jadine Childs, and we follow her. She's a fashion model. She lives in Paris, but she spends some time with 2 people on an island who raised her, a black couple, and that black couple works as servants for a man named Valerian Street. And we sort of follow this cast of characters kind of revolving around their life on in this house run by this wealthy white man who is aging. It's really hard to describe the story, but I really enjoyed it. I deeply enjoyed it. I found that Toni Morrison's writing, like I know that obviously she's a stellar writer, that her work is revered, that her thoughts on politics and literature and art are also held in really high esteem. And I could see why. Like there were moments when I was reading Tar Baby where I just read a sentence and I had to close the book and just exhale because her writing was so lyrical and beautiful. And there were a couple of places where I'm just trying to see if I can find something. Okay, so let me just give you an example. So this is from the beginning of chapter 2. She writes, "A house of sleeping humans is both closed and wide open. Like an ear, it resists easy penetration but cannot brace for attack. Luckily, in the Caribbean, there is no fear. The unsocketed eye that watches sleepers is not threatening. It is merely alert, which anyone can tell, for it has no lid and cannot wax or wane. No one speaks of a quarter or half moon in the Caribbean. It's always full, always adrift and curious, unastonished but never bored by the things it beholds. A pair of married servants sleeping back to back, the man without pajama tops in deference to the heat, his wife up to her neck in percale to defy it. There is safety in those backs. Each one feels it radiating from the other, knows that the steady, able spine of its partner is a hip turn away. Then their sleep is tranquil, earned, unlike the sleep of the old man upstairs in cotton pajamas. He has napped so frequently in his greenhouse during the day that night sleep eludes him. Sometimes he needs a half balloon of brandy to find it. And even then he chats the night away, whispering first to his wrists, then to the ceiling the messages he has received that need telling. And when he has got it straight, the exact wording, even the spelling of the crucial words, he is happy and laughs lightly like a sweet boy. It goes on to describe all of the other people who are sleeping in this house, but she goes through a couple of pages talking about what all these people are doing at night. And through her descriptions of their nightly maneuvers, she tells us about this political and social order set up in this home on this Caribbean island. And we get to learn so much about the characters and their relationships to each other by this ethereal and like lucid description of what they're doing at night with each other. And it was really, really beautiful. I have to say that I didn't fully understand the ending. It had an element of magical realism that I fully embraced but didn't fully comprehend. So I think now that I've read it, and unfortunately I missed the live discussion with Dee Dee and all of her folks, but I do definitely want to watch it and see if I can get some further insights on this. But if you have never read any of Toni Morrison's work, I think that Tar Baby is a really accessible beginning. There's also a scene in a grocery store with this woman who buys eggs, and I laughed. Like, it was really good. It was really good. So that was Tar Baby. I read that in February. I also read an ebook version of Signal to Noise, and I'm trying to get the cover again. I literally, okay, so this is the cover of Signal to Noise, and I read it on my iPad, and I literally got this book because of Adriana at Perpetual Pages. So they were talking about Silvia Moreno Garcia and her writing, and I read this and it was amazing. So I'm going to put a link to Adriana's review of Signal to Noise, because I have to say Adriana's review is a piece of, it's a work of art in and of itself. So after watching it, I thought, you know, I definitely need to read this book, and I hope that after watching their review of Signal to Noise, you'll feel the same way. So in Signal to Noise, we follow 3 young people living in Mexico, different life experiences, different class experience, different cultural and race experiences. And the story is told in 2 different time periods, one in the 80s and then one in the 2000s. So the protagonist who we follow has left Mexico and moved to Europe, and her father passes away, so she comes back to Mexico for the funeral. And while she's back in Mexico, she encounters her past. And so we sort of flip back and forth. Each of the chapters, you know, sort of flip in time. And it's a story of this threesome of young people growing up in Mexico City who discover magic. And they discover magic in the form of music. And that's all I can really say. But I think there's something really beautiful about the intersection of youth and adolescence, because there's so much that we're discovering as young people. We're discovering who we are, we're discovering things about our sexuality, we're discovering things about the world, we're developing critiques, like all these things are happening. Like, so youth in and of itself has magical elements to it because there's so much change. But then there's actually like legit magic that's happening. And so you combine young people with magic, young people who aren't fully matured, who don't really understand things, who are ruled by their own emotions and their impulses, and you add magic to that and you just get this cacophony of everything. So it's a stellar read. I think that I rated it 5 stars. And from an Afrofuturist perspective, one of the characters, I believe, is is African descended, I think. He's described as having curly hair and dark skin, and he also experiences what's not necessarily named as racist bullying in his school, but I think it is. So Signal to Noise was an exceptional read, and if you like me are trying to read more Latinx authors, I would definitely recommend Silvia Moreno Garcia. She's also on Twitter, and she's also just a lovely soul. So Signal to Noise was really, really great, and I enjoyed it a lot. And then the last book that I read is Mother of the Sea by Zetta Elliott. It's a novella. I have done a review on it. It was really great, and you should read it. And if you'd like to hear more about it, then you can just check the review. So those were my 3 reads for the month of February. It was really great. It was African Liberation Month, so I enjoyed that. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I do want to tell you one more thing. I've been meaning to do a video about podcasts because I find that as a reader, I'm really enjoying listening to people talk about things that they know about. So what I like about podcasts is they can sometimes be like articles or blog posts, except you're hearing the voices of the people who are speaking. And there are 2 podcasts right now that are making my daily commute and my general living life conditions so much better. So one is Tonic, and I'll put a link to the podcast in the description section of this video. And Tonic, there are 3 healers, and one is Raquel, the other is Perez, and the other is Karen. And the 3 of them form the Oxalis Collective, and they're a bunch of healers who do healing work for activists. And they just started the podcast last year, and they've got really amazing episodes. So the one that I just listened to on my way home today was one on womb wellness. There are ones on depression, dealing with fear, taking things personally, and they've got a really great vibe, the 3 of them together. I've only met one of them in person, Raquel, who's totally fantastic. But I would really encourage you, if you're interested in podcasts that are designed for, people of color doing really amazing activist work and that are towards a sort of healing modalities, I think that you might really enjoy it. And the second podcast that I'm really enjoying right now is the one by Adrienne Maree Brown and Autumn Brown, the Brown sisters, How to Survive the End of the World. And I think that there's something very Afrofuturistic about 2 mixed race, Black identified women talking about just what it means to live in the world and alternatives. And I talk a little bit about this in the 3rd video to the Other Futures Conference, where I interview Walida Imarisha, who does some work with the Brown sisters. So I won't go too much into that, but if you're interested in podcasts or you want to get into podcasts, these are 2 podcasts that I listen to pretty religiously. Like Tonic is like church these days. So anyway, so that's my February, and I thank you very much for watching. I'd love to hear how your February was, but if that feels a little too past tense for you, I'd love to hear how your March is going. Okay, take care. Bye.